Good morning. It's April 22nd. The market's just opened up here in the last minute. As always, traded the Nasdaq. Good morning. For those who are clicking onto the video, feel free to skip towards the end and just check out the recap. I always recap whatever trades that I take, just for those who are not watching this actually happen live. Yesterday, just decided to sort of give up on the single contract, trying to scale in. It was not working for me. I'll have to review that and tweak that and see if I can make that work. Just decided to leave that alone for now, just going back to the good old 3 contract scalps. I like it. It's worked for me. The problem is I have a hard time staying funded. If this is the first video you're watching, this is a Topstep account. This is their combine. This is step 2 of their combine. And I ended up resetting at some point. So this is, I think this is day 2. Anyway, markets look like they're selling off here. Or we'll say they're going sideways, right? Not really selling off. The name of the game today is to be very, very impatient with losing trades and to be as patient as possible with our winning trades. The ones that win, we're going to try and move our stop up to somewhere just above break even as quickly as we can, and just hope that the thing keeps pushing, and whatever the market wants to give is whatever we'll take. So for now, just going to be patient, sit out of it. Take a look at the Nasdaq. I'm sorry, not the Nasdaq. The ES is selling off this morning. Nasdaq gives a little bit of an uptick here. If it starts getting bearish again, I will short. I've decided to go ahead and keep the cumulative delta on my charts. Still have it here just kind of for reference. It did betray me 2 days ago, I guess, and it gave me a very bad read on the market. So I've kind of been taking the information I've gotten from it with a grain of salt since then. Was tempting to short there, but it didn't break underneath, so we'll leave it alone. Also, the delta is pushing up, so I'm not going to try to fight things too much today. I'm going to try and wait for things to all line up before I take an entry, and you kind of have to always do that when you're trading 3 contracts. As much as I do try to exit quickly, you know, exiting, even with a quick exit, I could still lose quite a lot if I'm not careful, which is why I have problems staying funded, because it's almost inevitable that at some point you're going to take a trade that everything looks right and it's just not going to work. So for me, really, with Topstep, it's been more of a game of, you know, how many trades can I have in a row that work before that one that wrecks the account, or not that one, but like that stream of losses happens that wrecks the account, because it's inevitable. You're going to have consecutive losing trades at some point, which is why I was trying to get into scaling, but that was not working for me, to be honest. There's definitely a divergence here in the Nasdaq and the cumulative delta. Yeah, like based off of this delta, this Nasdaq should be breaking through VWAP and testing and honestly breaking these highs here from the pre-market. But after what happened to me last time, I'm just not trusting that the delta is going to, help. So if it breaks through VWAP strongly and looks like it's really trying to run up, then I'll go ahead and add. I'll just buy high and sell higher, look to get out quick. Or, stop out quick if it starts going the other way. If this thing rejects and starts getting really bearish again, then I will do the opposite and short. Trying not to jump the gun here. I'm treating this little price movement upwards as the test up. If it breaks underneath this candle, I will look to go short.
Order filled.
Taking one short. See if this thing can't pop in somewhere profitable real quick.
Stop filled.
And see, there it is. It's not breaking down, so just gonna get out. Not willing to wait. If it breaks under here again, I'll just short again.
Order filled.
Okay, take two. Hopefully we don't get stopped out again. There goes the break, moving up to somewhere profitable. And now we're just hoping that this thing runs and pays us as much as possible. Deleting take profits and just gonna follow it down on each bar. I want to see more downward momentum. Let's go.
Stop filled.
Okay, that one kicked us out. We're up 225 on the day. Just two trades. The first one was a loser, but got out of it quickly. The second one, we managed to get I don't know how many points that was. Second trade was 540. I'll let y'all do the math on whatever the number of points was. But we're out of that, so now we'll be patient. I try to really be patient and give the market time to make its moves after I get out. That way I'm not at risk of, I get in really quick, it makes its move, I take whatever profits or I take whatever loss, and then I, I see a small tiny movement and get right back into the market. And it's almost like I would have just been better off holding the initial move. So once I take one trade, and if I end up losing quite a bit on it, then I'll do the same thing, right? If I lose a lot or if I make a good amount, then I will chill, let the market, leg in the opposite direction. So I'll wait for this to push up at some point, and then I'll look to short again. But I'm not going to try and short this breakout, right? The alternative is if it does continue to drop, then I'm just going to let the push down exhaust itself, and I'll look for whatever long that I can find later. Or, if it pushes up and it still looks like it's downtrending, then I'll just short, maybe at a lower price. Maybe I can extend this here, make this more clear. So like if this decides to push way down here, down to this area, then I can wait for it to pull back, and I'll still be shorting at a lower price, but it's an entirely different push. So I try not to play within the same push too much, because I tend to get burnt more often than not when doing that. So we'll be patient here. I would like to see it get back to VWAP and volume and look to short there. If that doesn't happen, then we'll just see. We'll just wait. Just be patient and wait. Not a bad start though. Definitely enjoying that better than all the scalping trades. All the scalping trades, like I don't know. For whatever reason, they've all started red, and it's always been like trying to fight to get back to positive, and it starts off badly. I'm just not used to that. Usually I have decent starts. Let's go back here. The ES has looked really nice to trade. I'm not an ES trader, so I haven't been trading it, but it's looked really nice to trade. Just the past couple days, the pre-market has been very choppy, but then it opens and has big, nice trendy type movements and just keeps grinding in a direction. Whereas the Nasdaq is, bouncing around back and forth a lot more. Did Topstep do something to the economic release calendar? I'm not showing it on the usual, on the dashboard. It's not cool. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted here. I'm trying to find this calendar because Topstep has a rule where you're not allowed to trade during like major market news. And I hadn't looked at it last night, so I was going to look at it this morning, but the calendar is not showing up on my, or the link to it's not showing up on my dashboard. Okay, so today's only natural gas. So the next thing to note for that is the FOMC, which is at 1 p.m. Central Time next week. So nothing for now. Should probably just bookmark this page, honestly. Okay, done. Alright, market's chopping around sideways here. Switch my screens. Okay, we have the break downwards. Would have been nice to have been in on that, but it's all good. One, I wasn't paying attention, and two, this was not really enough of a pullback that I would have wanted to enter. I could have, but it's okay. The ES is selling off so hard, it makes me just want to FOMO into the Nasdaq and just let the thing drop. But I think we all know why that's a bad thing to do. Whether from watching other people or from personal experience. Let's go look at the time-based charts and Nasdaq, see what we've got. The 1 minute chart, 5 minute looks bearish. At least for now, we'll see how this candle can close. This candle's very early in the candle. The candle, so like it's 8:50, right? This candle will finish forming at 8:55, and that's when you'll really know what this candle is saying. So something I like to do, especially when I'm looking at time-based charts, is to always make sure that the candle's actually closing, or is at least in the last like minute or even the last 10 to 30 seconds at the very least, before I start saying, okay, this candle's forming an engulfing and it's pushing, right? Because this candle could push all the way up here and look like it's an engulfing candle, and then in the last 20-30 seconds can suddenly come down here and make a doji. So, or whatever formation, right? So always wait till the very end of the candle formation before you're, like, if you're trying to buy off of candle patterns or candlestick patterns, wait till the last wait till the candle actually is about to finish forming before you enter off of them. Market getting bearish again. I should have taken that short, but I was busy explaining whatever. To FOMO in or not to FOMO in? The delta looks really bearish at the moment. So does everything else. Let's see if it pushes up a little bit here and I can get in. like shorting the all-time low of the day. It's just everything looks so bearish. This one I would have taken, but this one was a, you know, very classic and perfect setup. I should have taken that one. I'm trying to be cautious of where we're going to put in a bottom, right? Like at some point the market's going to catch a bid and start pushing back up. I'm trying to watch for signs of that. Seeing a few, but not anything major. We're having buyers start to come in right at this level. We'll see if they can break above the -2. I'm sorry, the -1 standard deviation off of VWAP. If this starts coming down with strength, I'll look to short. Looks like it's trying to come back down, but looks weak at the moment.
Order filled.
We'll just go for it. We'll jump in. Again, looking to move stops up very quickly.
Stop filled.
Not much of a gain there, but it's whatever. If it doesn't, so basically, if it doesn't want to just run without me, I'm sorry, if it doesn't want to just run or push down with me in it and I get stopped out, then I just accept it, right? Again, I'm just gonna let this push go. If it decides to come down and I'm not in it, it's okay. I'll just wait for the next opportunity, whether it's long or short, and do the same thing again. And eventually you're gonna get into one of these trades where it just runs and you just don't get stopped out. Maybe that one I could have waited at least for the full bar to form, but either way it's okay. Tempted to take the breakout just because of the way the ES looks and the way the delta is showing at the same time that the Nasdaq is trying to make this low. Tempting to enter. This recent movement changes my mind a little bit though, or it changes my sentiment. We'll say that. It looks like not necessarily that this is a bottom. I still think this thing can suddenly just pop below this, right? Like this isn't even all that far, right? So the market can definitely get below that right away. But you are starting to see more buyers consistently, right? So even though we've had sellers come in, push this back down, buyers are now coming back in on every push. So buyers are getting more aggressive here. They're getting stronger. Sellers are getting weaker. We're seeing that transition of strength from the sell side to the buy side. We'll see if the buyers can hold up and if they have enough follow through to start pushing this thing back up towards volume and VWAP. I don't think I'll take any longs until maybe after VWAP, I want to say. I could see myself maybe taking a long if it breaks above the -1 deviation. But if I take that long, then my stop is going to be extremely tight. Just because I think that taking a long in this area is It's more on the aggressive side. And to adjust for that aggression, I'm just going to give it less space, right? And say that either it's going to break out here and shoot past, or then so we'll enter.
Order filled.
Just going to follow the previous bar. Put it underneath the current bar then. Keep going.
Stop filled.
Stopped out, break even. Again, I'm just not going to give it as much space because, you know, of reasons mentioned before. I could have here. Very tempting to re-enter because looking at ES, I think this is going to push. I think it should be able to get to VWAP. Just gonna give it a second here. I want to see how it acts at VWAP before I really start trying to look for things. I don't know if that last trade even made anything. $15. Yeah, it's looking like it's having a hard time with the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. But a lot of momentum behind it at the moment. A lot of momentum on the Nasdaq as well. Buyers definitely in control. We'll see if they can break through volume and VWAP. If not, then I will take my short.
Order filled. Stop filled.
Oh man. Stopped out again. 120 on that scalp.
Order filled.
I know I say I don't like to re-enter on the same push. Jumping back in, hoping this will get to the downside. If this starts pushing up, I'm going to get out quickly. I want the breakdown to happen now.
Stop filled.
And I'm stopped out. Down 180 on that one, which is okay. After seeing that rejection, I was hoping for it to run to new lows and to break the new low. Didn't happen. It's okay. Stopped out for a little bit there. And we're pushing back up. Movement getting a little sporadic, a little choppy. Just going to give it a chance to see what it wants to do here before we start getting into anything else. You know, it's now sort of broken the range on either side now, so we'll see what it wants to do. I want want to say when in doubt, just go with what the market has been doing all day, which would indicate a sell-off. Tempting to short, especially looking at the ES right now.
Order
I think
filled.
I will short. Give this a little bit of space. Really, I'm taking this short, not so much for the Nasdaq. I'm just hoping that the Nasdaq will follow the ES and push down. It doesn't look like it wants to, though. This stop is bigger than I would like for it to be. Just gonna cut it off. Just gonna cut it off there. It's really odd how these are not synchronized at all, but it is what it is. I want to see the Nasdaq break this little channel here and start trending down. That's what I want to see.
Order filled.
That was a little early on the entry, but looks like we've got our break. Let's see how far it wants to go. Deleting the take profit. I want to see this run to a new low. Let's lock in just at least, oh, here we are. We have a bar here. We can lock in under this bar. Let's see if this can break lows. If it breaks this low and I can get a lock in under this low, I'm calling it a day after that.
Stop filled.
Unfortunately, no, stopped out. I thought to maybe give this a little more space and put this up here, but as you can see, it ran up and stopped me out there. So glad I stayed tight on it. Up 510. That trade hit 690. If I had seen this break the lows and ran off there, man, I would have moved my stop right to this spot here and just said, you know, whatever it gives me today is whatever I'm gonna take, and that's it. But that's all right. Big push up here. Huge push up. Love to see it. Love to see the big pushes. Unfortunately, there was no way I was going to be in this trade. I was completely looking short at the moment, and it just rocketed up here, basically breaking the range. See if we can go test VWAP finally. Go test VWAP in volume. If it gets up there, then I'm gonna flip to longs. I'm not gonna look to short so much anymore. I'll see if we can find pullbacks basically and long it. U.S. jobless claims unexpectedly dropped to a new one-year low. Interesting. Continued decline in initial jobless claims. I wonder how much that actually affects the market, though. I remember initially when those jobless reports were coming out, I think back in early 2020. Around COVID, we'll say back in March, April, maybe May too. Well, anyway, all during that period, man, those jobless claims were nuts. Every time they came out, the market would instantly rocket in whatever direction and then correct as people digested the information. And now, jobless claim comes out, and you hardly get like any movement from the market. Well, good to see that people are getting back to work. Yeah, this thing's looking long and strong. We'll see if we can get a VWAP bounce here, right? So I'm always talking about the VWAP bounce. When you have a strong move like this into VWAP, a lot of the time it likes to literally tap VWAP, tick VWAP, and just bounce right off. We'll see if that happens this time or not. As much as this is pushed up so far, it's always tempting. Like if this shows any sign of weakness right here, right, it's just so tempting to take the VWAP bounce for me because it's just been so strong and worked so well in the past.
Order filled.
So I'm gonna make my stop pretty tight on it, especially since we're pushing up so hard. Not trying to mess around and short too much, risk too much on shorts when this thing is doing what it's just done. Right to my entry price and back up. Hey, if it wants to stop me out there, that's fine. I'll give up the 285 to see the VWAP bounce, to see if it would play out or not.
Stop filled.
It stops me out there. I always have to look at the VWAP bounce. It's hard for me to not take the VWAP bounce plays because it's so little risk usually for the potential drop if it does decide to do that. Just putting a stop under the little channel that's formed there. If it breaks under there, then we'll short again.
Stop filled.
Of course, looking to get out of here quick, either to stop out quickly or to catch the push down if it can. Not looking like it wants to. Let's check amounts. 615 again is a little more than I'd like to lose, but I just want my stop to be on the other side of VWAP.
Stop filled.
That's what I get for trying to fight against, the direction that it's pushing. VWAP bounce or not. And for taking the same trade twice. Again, that's why I say I don't like doing that. I like to just wait for something else entirely. But didn't adhere to that there, and I've paid for it now. just relax and wait to see whichever direction it'll break. And we'll jump in.
Order filled.
We're in again, short. A bit slow to move this. Move it there. Lock in something profitable. See how far it wants to push or if it wants to stop me out right away.
Stop filled.
It opted for the instant stop out. See what the market wants to do here. Have to be careful here. Market having a hard time getting through VWAP and where the volume node was. It looks like it's adjusted. Should probably draw the point of control and get an accurate picture of where it is. Let's do that. Volume profile. Extend that there. So volume is way down here actually. Looks like it's trying to reject that same level. Seeing a lot of choppiness here though. Not sure if I want to participate. Again, I shouldn't have before.
Order filled.
Taking the short again. Don't like that I'm seeing buyers right there. I know that's just a few and it's tiny, but I don't like that I'm seeing them at all. I want this to sell off. I want it to follow suit with the with the ES and just sell off really hard.
Stop filled.
Man, I'm not getting that big push that I want. I'm not getting that big push that I want. Need to be patient here. Need to take a step back. Was very tempted just then just to re-enter, which I know is a bad thing. So I just just force myself not to. But I just get the feeling that this thing wants to rip down. But you never know. Like it may not, right? I could be completely wrong. This thing wants to continue pushing upwards. There is a slight upward channel forming here, so it could. It's a matter of it getting through VWAP. Okay. So we've crossed VWAP for a second time. Should be able to go through this time. I'm not going to long it just yet. We'll look for some sort of a higher low to be put in before I start trying to do anything like that. And also, I would rather take longs when this thing, like I would rather this thing just shoot through VWAP now, not participate if I can. If I have the discipline to not participate, let it push through VWAP, get a pullback to some volume above VWAP or VWAP itself, and then long off of that rather than to try to long underneath it. Okay. Yeah, a little tricky here. Formation is looking like it wants to go long. However, at the same time, you're having the delta, which is looking choppy and giving like bearish signs. And it's bouncing off VWAP now. It's bounced off VWAP a couple of times. So we'll see. Looks like it's finally trying to break. See if delta can't get to a high. And if it can sustain the push upward. For those joining, I am trading the Nasdaq, trading Nasdaq futures. This is a Topstep account. This is step 2. I'm a little late if I take that short. I was tempted to take that short. It would be a little late if I did it now. Or early, depending on how you look at it. The next chance that I could take it would be on a break of the -1. It's just after forming this channel, I kind of don't want to, like this could be a higher low, right? So I don't want to short what ends up being a higher low. As much as I do like, you know, the rejection of VWAP. Some things going the way I want them to, other things not, so just gonna chill, wait. Again, if this gets above VWAP and can, you know, come back down, test VWAP, hold it, and start going back up, then we'll just look to go long rather than trying to fight this thing short while it's in an upward channel. I will say, you know, markets are having a hard time figuring out what they want to do right now, but I would really appreciate if this thing would freaking get above VWAP and stay above it, or just reject and start coming down. But I don't like the meandering around here. Been doing that for like 15 minutes now. Let's, pick a direction and let's go. Okay, looks like the direction is long. Delta still hasn't quite made a high yet, but it's close. Ooh. Okay, and it shoots back down again. Just underneath VWAP. Let's see what it does here. Does it actually sell off, or does it just put in another higher low and go right back up? Very tempting to participate there, but very difficult too. Again, just too much weird stuff happens around VWAP like this. It is pushing, the trend is pushing, it is up. So if there was any, sort of safe bet to take, would be to go long really anywhere, but always have to exercise caution. Some sort of caution, right? Man, it's so tempting to long this break.
Order filled.
I will. Along the breakout, we'll see what we get out of it. Stop under VWAP. Okay.
Stop filled.
We're not getting the follow through on any of our trades today. We did on just the one. At least with that one, it puts us back at neutral. Just chilling, trying to chill out here, wait and see what it's gonna do. Always gotta remember there's gonna be some other opportunity to trade in the future that will, look really good, look better than probably whatever you're currently looking at, right? So trying to keep that in mind and just be patient and stay out of this as much as this breakout looks like it would work if I would just give it space too. Just gotta wait for what I like, right? Wait for the pullback, wait for the entry, take it and go long. And that sucks because, I've been seeing this push develop, and just not participating in it is always difficult. Not that I didn't participate in it, it's just I got stopped out, right? But hey, at least it was a break-even stop and not stop out for a loss. really pushing here. What I don't want is for this thing to, you know, exhaust almost the whole push here, and I'm not in, and then it pulls back and I buy, and it starts chopping sideways. That's what I want to. That's the only thing I don't want to happen. Shrink this down a little. One of the hardest things I think in trading is to watch it just push without you. Well, I looked at Coinbase. Coinbase stock has dropped quite a bit since its IPO. I think it opened up at what, like 330? I think just under 330, and it's down. See what Tesla's doing. Tesla's basically neutral today. Nasdaq grinding upwards. We're seeing the ES pushing. Probably the Nasdaq will continue to push up here. I'm trying not to FOMO into this. Almost certain the second that I buy into it, it'll start going the opposite direction. As tempting as it is to test that on live stream, I'm not going to. But it does seem to do that. It does seem like literally anytime I FOMO into anything, it goes the opposite direction immediately. Which I think is why I've developed such a strong sense of just don't take breakouts, don't buy if it's already pushing, just leave it alone. Because I've been hurt by it so many times. So, being patient, chilling. Makes for very boring trading. Would have been a lot more exciting if that short that I had earlier kept going down. Dang, this thing is pushing a lot. Let's see, how much is that? It's not that crazy. As soon as it gets to 30, it'll be a 50-point push. And any sort of small pullback would be nice. Ooh. Do the Nasdaq time charts just to get a reference. Those looking very strong, pulling off the high, creating a little bit of a wick here, but we'll see what it does with that. Check out the 15. 15 also looks strong. I'm sure all the time frames are going to look pretty similar right now, just because it's pushed so far, so quick. So yeah, those all look fairly similar. Nasdaq not trying to give any ground at the moment. It will eventually, though. The question is what happens after that. I wonder if it will end the day at 14K. How far is that? Certainly possible. Definitely possible for the market to end up at 14K today. We'll see though. The Nasdaq is starting to run into its where natural resistance is lying. The Nasdaq probably still has another 5-10 points. I'm sorry, not the Nasdaq, the ES. The ES probably has another five-ish points until it starts, until it hits resistance. And we'll see what that does there and see if that has any effect on the Nasdaq. I don't mind these slow grinds in just one direction when I'm in the trade. But when you're not in it, they suck because it's so boring to look at. And it's discouraging because it's like there's no opportunity, no chance to get in. But we'll see if this these few sellers can push this thing down somewhere for us to get in. Try to long off of this somewhere. I was getting a weird ticking in my headset. I don't know if that's playing on stream. Hopefully not. Oh, hurry up and sell off. Let's go. Water. Okay, a little bit of a sell-off starting to happen, starting to form. Seeing some sellers on the delta, see if they can't push this thing down somewhere. Hopefully we get a nice easy setup here. Sell off, buyers start coming back in, goes long, we go long with it, collect, get out of here. If only it were that easy, right? little tempted to long there, but the market's moving so slow at the moment that it makes it hard to want to long there, right? Like that small movement is, I don't know, almost insignificant. It's like this is a pullback, all right, but it's not much. Like I think this whole pullback encompasses only, it's 14 points. 14, 15, maybe we'll say 15 points. A 15-point pullback on the Nasdaq is literally nothing. Does it justify the risk in longing off of that? I don't necessarily know. I know the thing has been pushing strongly, but could very well have exhausted itself. And a 15-point drop is not enough for me to think that I'm getting at a good price. Oh man, allergies are killing me. Excuse me. Okay. I like the hesitation that I'm seeing in the upward movement. See if we can't get a little bit of a drop here. If not, I could just long and just have a very, very tight stop. It's much harder for me to trade personally. I have a harder time trading when it's moving really slowly and taking a long time for these bars to form. I will say I think that's one advantage of a time-based chart, is that if you're just following candlestick patterns, then you literally just follow the candlesticks, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like, it's 5 minutes, every bar is going to form every 5 minutes, and you're going to get a signal based on a 5-minute whatever, so you have an actual concrete time frame or a timeline as to when you're looking to get in and when you're not. Whereas using range charts or tick charts, it kind of depends on how many contracts and are being traded and volume, and so it can be much slower at times, but at the same time it can also be a lot faster. I say in general it's quicker, but when you're not getting much movement, it is very boring. For those joining in, again, this is the Topstep Combine. This is step 2, trading the Nasdaq. Delta forming a nice little rounding pattern on it. Expand that, make it easier to see. Rounding there, it looks like it's getting to the downside. See if sellers can continue to come through and shoot this thing down. I do like that it is a rounding formation, right? Because then it's not like strong sellers just smashing this thing down. Like we may get a quick sell off here and then be able to get back to the upside, meaning I can take a long off of some support rather than just taking like a random long. We'll see though. Sellers may do nothing and it just starts going back up, in which case I would have to take a more aggressive long. But if this thing does start pushing up, I think I will take a long. Being patient, trying to see what it's doing here. I see the ES pushing, getting stuck at its high. ES has tapped the same high a couple of times now. I don't want to long the Nasdaq just yet. If the ES breaks above this high here, breaks above this area, then I think I would be more inclined to want to long the Nasdaq as well. If and only if though. Damn, I don't want the Nasdaq to break out on its own because I don't want to long the Nasdaq in that situation. I'd rather not, but I also am tired of waiting and doing nothing. But that in and of itself is not a good reason to take a trade. As much as I want to. I'll probably give this roughly another half hour, 45 minutes tops. I don't think I'm going to stay past 10:30 unless I'm in a trade actively. The delta just made a high, so in theory this should continue to push up. The ES is also at a high, so
Order filled.
we'll enter, put our stop underneath the swing low. Hopefully it breaks out right here. I'm trying to not move my stop to break even right away because I would have already been stopped out if I had. Would rather not take a loss on here. Obviously, right? Who wants to take a loss? Like I said before, I don't mind if it's grinding up as long as it's, as long as I'm in it and it's grinding in my favor, right? The ES is still pushing up a little bit here, so hopefully the Nasdaq will continue right along with it. Stop is at 960 down. We'll see what happens here. Getting wrecked by my impatience. I'm telling you, always happens that I get in and it goes the other way. This time it's because I waited so freaking long. Not that it was wrong to do so. I think it was correct to wait and not FOMO into all this, but it just hurts. So we'll see. I'll let this one play out. If it stops me out, then so be it. At least the stop is underneath the swing low of the range, so it has a chance. Oh man. Sitting back, relaxing, letting it be whatever it's gonna be. My take profit is not anything specific. It's just kind of out there for the sake of, I don't know, should just have it out there somewhere. Really, on all my trades, almost always, I'm just gonna let it stop me out. So now the push is in. I'm gonna move this off a bit. We're locked in at 180 up. We're just gonna stay right underneath our range bar and hopefully it doesn't go back underneath it. Move it a little closer, 225, it's fine with me. Should give it a bit more space, but I'm just gonna stick to the strategy. What has always worked for me is moving that stop up very quickly.
Stop field.
And just being in and out. And if the market happens to push up and give me a very big, profit, then so be it. And if it doesn't, then that's okay as well. What generally happens is inevitably, what am I saying? Inevitably, I'll get into that trade where I take the long, it pushes, and it just doesn't go back to my stop. And by the time I get stopped out, it's like 3K or 4K or 5K or whatever amount because it's I'm using 3 contracts, so it just adds up. That inevitably does happen at some point. It's just living and staying alive in the account long enough to hit that trade. But just kind of like you've seen most of the day and like you just saw there as well, most of my trades are that trade made 240 So most of my trades usually do that. They'll make somewhere from like 200 to 300 bucks. And then occasionally I have the trade that, just far exceeds that because it just shoots through. And then every now and then I have my losers, but my losers are usually, I don't know. I don't know what the average of my losers are. Let's see. Losing trades, average losing trade, 357. So we'll say 360 is the average losing trade. So doing that, you trade long enough and eventually you're going to hit that winner that just supersedes all those losing trades. And that's kind of the name of the game when you're either trading breakouts or scalping. It's staying in there it's staying alive long enough and taking enough good trades that when you're losing, you just get out quickly, you're impatient, but when you finally have that winning trade, you just stick with it and it just doesn't stop you out. Or that's what works for me. I don't necessarily know if I want to long this anymore. After all the struggle and grinding here and seeing this downward move, also looking at Delta, not looking great anymore. If I can start seeing buyers come back in on the Delta, maybe this will be a nice pullback and I could just long this. Price action is looking like it wants to bounce off of the +1, but I'm not seeing any buyers on the Delta with it. If I was, I would have long this. I would have gone long already. I don't know. Let's give it a second. Let's give this a second and see what it does. I don't want to jump in here too early. Nor do I want to get caught on like a downward push. I want to really give it a chance to exhaust itself downward before I jump in. Okay. I'm trying to come down a little bit now. If this starts getting back above this bar, then I'll look to long. Again, I would like to see a little bit more of buyers on the Delta, which just not seeing. Trying to think of like other trader psychology, kind of difficult to do sometimes, but I'm thinking they're saying, okay, this pushed and then sold off. I'm sure part of this was people taking profits, but this whole area, there wasn't much conviction to push it up to the long side before. Now there was an actual sell-off. It's broken the range, right? The people who were long from here and had their stops down here have probably all gotten stopped out now. Do I think those guys are all necessarily going to come back in and buy here again? No, not necessarily. Do I think new buyers are going to see this as like a great deal and look at this formation and say, oh, we should buy this? Again, not necessarily. Also the fact that we're right at where the Nasdaq opened from last night, so it can really go either direction. I think if it does start pushing and gets above this and the Delta was to look bullish, then I would take it, but otherwise I think I'll stay out of it. Like especially trading with 3 contracts, you just can't afford to make or I can't afford to make too many mistakes or to take too many trades that are suboptimal. Like the trade actually has to, everything has to be in line. The Delta has to look good, the chart formation has to look good, the timing of it has to look good. You know, we can't be pushing into like a VWAP range or into a node. Like everything has to look good. Because with 3 contracts, as you've seen, you know, it just doesn't take very much, and you know you're red and very red on the day. It's all a game. Just gotta figure out what the other guy is doing and counter their moves right. Or follow their moves, depending on your, I guess, your philosophy about markets. Yeah, we're gonna chill here. I don't like how this delta looks. You know, I don't like this flip from green to red to green, and it's chopping around here, and we saw it, you know, meandered. I think that's the right word, meandering, where it's not even really chopping back and forth. It's just kind of staying here and not doing anything. We've been in here for a good hour and a half. It's 10:01 a.m. I'll probably give this another, say, 15 minutes. Get out of here at 10:15. Would have liked to have had a very nice big green day today, but that's alright. If not, as long as we're not red. See, if I had seen this little move here and these 2 red bars right here, I would have longed. Because then I could have had more, it would have shown more conviction to push the long side, in my opinion. But without that, you still see that there's sellers and things going on here. So I just don't want to, as much as this could push, I don't want to jump into it. Maybe I should though. You know, you've had the big push up, sideways, creates a bit of a channel, breaks the channel on both sides, and is now stuck back in the channel. Just looking to see which way it'll break. Okay, this is why I didn't want to long after seeing these 2 red bars on the delta. It just shows indecision. Generally, people don't know if they want to go long or short, and I know personally I only want this thing to go one way. So if I'm seeing any sort of indecision anywhere in the market, I just would rather not participate. The only times I do are because, you know, I've gotten impatient. Nice catch on the push. Thanks, Relaxed Keith. I'm trying to be like your name and relax and chill. Sellers coming in a bit here. We'll see if they can't flush it. If this thing can push down to VWAP, I would love to take a VWAP bounce play here. If we can get a strong push into VWAP. it's only been like a minute since I said that, but it feels like forever. Oh, damn. Waiting to see if it can get to VWAP, and we'll see how it acts there. I'm looking for the VWAP bounce. If it does get that VWAP bounce, I'll take that. I'll take that long. I'm always gonna take the VWAP bounce play, wherever it's at, regardless of what's going on. But in this situation, I think the VWAP bounce would line up very nicely with how the market has been forming so far. So really would like to see that happen. If it doesn't and it pushes through and starts selling off, I think I'll just get out of here for the day. You know, that means the market is basically ranging, and that's just not what I'm good at. It's not my style of trading, and not the ideal day for me. I actually think I'm really bad at trading, so I rely on only trading like trendy days where it just goes one direction, and you just can't be wrong on a day like that. If I were good, I'd be able to identify like some of these things quicker. But that's alright, we'll get there someday. Seeing the ES push here, keeping an eye on the ES and seeing what the ES is doing, just because the Nasdaq tends to follow it. The Nasdaq has tended to follow the ES today when it does make these highs and is pushing strong. The Nasdaq has tended to do the same and follow suit today. We'll see if the ES can break above this wick and start pushing, and if the Nasdaq will follow. If it does, we'll take that long. If it does not, we can still wait for the VWAP bounce play. I like that I see the sizable green bar on the delta. I want to see some follow up to it though before I start jumping into anything. A little bit of follow up here.
Order filled.
We'll jump in on the break on ES, and this is getting a little bit of follow up here. Not a lot, but a little. We'll see if this thing doesn't want to go up. We're just going to move our stop up quickly as usual. If it gets above there, and if not, then we'll look to cut this off fairly quick. Max risk on this one is 810. We'll look to have less of a risk than 810 if possible. Trying to give it a chance. Hoping I don't pay for it later. I don't like that. I don't like how it ticked right to this node and then came down. I think I'm going to tighten this up more. Yeah, I don't like how it ticked right to that node exactly where that volume was. Yeah, we're just under it. Okay.
Stop filled.
Okay, stopped out there. Looked like it might have a chance to go up there, but it didn't, so it just got out of it. Again, going to be very, very impatient with losers. Also seeing the downward channel form, so not gonna mess around too much when there's a downward channel forming like that. As much as we're still gonna go look for long, we're still looking for longs, but going to be quicker to get out of them. We'll just wait for the VWAP bounce if it happens. If it does, we'll take the bounce. And if not, and this actually does sell off and get to the sell side, then I'll just call it a day. Okay, I'll draw a bit of a trend line here, just so I can be aware of where that is. And know that with the exception of the VWAP bounce, I'm not going to buy it before this diagonal is hit. So either we're looking for the VWAP bounce or the break of the small downtrend, right? We're saying that overall it's in an uptrend. Right now it's just currently selling off and in a temporary downtrend. If it breaks this downtrend, we'll take the long. Or if we get a VWAP bounce here, we'll take that long as well. Depending on how they look, I'll decide how much space I'm willing to give and how much risk I'm willing to take on that trade. And that'll probably be the last trade that I take for the day. I try not to ever trade too much more than 2 hours. We're getting close to the 10:30 mark, which would be 2 hours. So I just find that I mentally fatigue and kind of, I don't want to say I stop caring, but I get impatient and kind of lazy is not the right word. It's really just impatience. I just want something to happen right away, and I want that feeling of wanting something to happen quickly is building at the same time that we're going into like lunchtime, and basically the market just always naturally slows down that time anyway. Okay, we've been patient thus far. We'll see if the VWAP bounce actually plays out or not. Currently down $30 on the day. Nothing major. Extend our trend line here. nice is to be able to draw like a diagonal box. You know, like if I try to draw like go to shapes, right, and draw like a rectangle, I can't draw a diagonal box that has like slope to it. Because I don't think the trend lines are truly aligned. Like, you know, like if I was, truthfully, this trend line probably starts from here. Like it's really more of like a trend range, right? Like nothing, I don't think, with the exception of a few things, I don't think the market really operates in specific lines. Like occasionally you do see things go right to the tick and then change direction. And, you know, that's cool and just interesting. And, you know, it's nice to see when it happens, especially like when you have your line drawn there. But I don't think for the most part that the market moves in terms of a line per se. Like usually when you're drawing like supports and resistances and like all those levels, usually it's a range, right? Whether it's 10 points, 15 points, whatever. It's not usually just like a specific line. Anyway. Like example, this VWAP bounce. The VWAP is this yellow line here. A VWAP bounce play is probably active anywhere. Man, such a pain to adjust things. Is probably active anywhere in like this area, right? And wherever you see that initial bounce happen, you just put your stop underneath that bounce. So technically, if this starts pushing up here, that's technically a VWAP bounce. All right. Looks like the bounce play is starting to come in. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm deleting this box just because it's kind of in my way. Again, I'd like to have some other confirmation, like buyers on Delta or something. Doesn't look like the market wants to give that to me though.
Filled.
We're just going to take it, put our stop right under VWAP. Again, I just have a take profit there for the sake of having one somewhere. We're just going to move it way off to the +3. Risking 720 on this trade. Today's not been good for VWAP bounces though, looking back. Hopefully this one, breaks the mold and actually works, but the past couple haven't. This one could have, but I mean, it crossed view up by just a little bit. Anyway, hopefully this one will. Again, I do like this one because it does kind of coincide with the actual movement of the day, whereas the other ones hadn't so much. So we'll see. Hopefully buyers can catch a bid, can show some strength, and finally push this thing up. I'm going to give it a little bit of space, kind of similar to the last one, although the last one did hurt me. Just again, going to give it a little bit of space. I could move this thing up here and just guarantee myself being profitable, at least somewhat for the day. But sometimes you just got to risk it to get something, right? So we'll do that. I think if this thing can cross like the $200 or $300 mark, then I'll move my stop up somewhere. Okay, so now it's just a matter of wait and see. Lots of waiting today. That's the name of the game with trading. Looking like it's getting bearish, unfortunately. To push or not to push? Let's go like time-based charts and see what's up. Okay, the 5-minute formed had a bearish candle there, but at least the buyers were able to push it back up by the time the candle closed. This candle is in an engulfing. We're only 3 minutes into it though, so this candle could change at any time. But at least it's nice to see that it's pushing. Oh, we hit that 300 mark, so we'll move this up somewhere. I'm down 130. We'll move it up to like 100, 105. So at least it's as far away as possible, but at least I won't be red on the day for sure. Push is happening. I should probably switch over and adjust stops as this thing goes. I think I'll leave it here, honestly. I want to give it a chance to actually push for once. I am seeing things that are telling me I should just exit and take whatever I just had. But I want to give it that shot. I'll at least adjust to here, I guess. Just to lock in a little something more. But I mean, truth be told, if we can get over the +1, there's lots of space to go up. It's just the markets all day have been kind of grinding.
Stop filled.
and it continues to do so. So we're out there, up 135, taking a bunch of trades today. I don't know what number trade that was, but I've taken more than 10 trades today. And I've got 135 to show for it. It's not negative. So that's good. It is 10:25 though. We're 5 minutes before 10:30, and usually I like to be done in 2 hours. So I'm gonna call it a day on that. I think this could push here. It's unfortunate that I'm stopped out there. I say unfortunate, grateful to be positive and happy with that. Of course, though, you're always gonna have that feeling of it could have always been better. Watch this thing freaking rocket out and like shoot up to new highs for the day. Um, anyway, to go in and recap, uh, from the beginning, started off trading. I was scaling on a combine. Basically, the problem that I'm having with my not combines, but in funded accounts is usually I can get to the combines fairly quickly. Not even fairly quickly, just in a month I can usually pass a combine. What I normally do is I trade 3 contracts, kind of like I did today. 3 contracts and I scalp. I move my stops up very quick. I don't really have any sort of a set take profit. I usually just move it somewhere really far away. And sometimes I will, I do end up in like those positions where, I've moved my stop up. My stop is at like $1,000 and I'm happy with 1,000. And so I just move my take profit to something absurd like 10K just for the sake of I want this thing to either continue to push all day or to just stop me out at my 1,000. But I don't want to sit here and like watch the markets literally all day, right? So I set my take profits and my stops. I leave, and that's really the only reason I use a take profit. But most of the time, I just delete it. And I just move my stop up and creep up with the market until it stops me out. So I was trying to do a scaling, trade the same way, but scale into my trades. The problem I was having is that it would keep pushing against me when I was trying to scale, and I couldn't get the direction and the amount of the push right on those on my entries, right? So I would get in, the first trade would go against me, and so instead of closing it, I would add a second contract, and so it was like I was scaling into losers all the time. And then when I did have winning trades, I couldn't scale into the winners enough to erase those losers. And a lot of the time, actually, when I would scale into those winning trades, it would end up going against me, and then I would end up either making a lesser amount or even taking a loss on what started off as a winning trade. So I probably have to go back to the drawing board, do some back testing, and just generally study up on how to scale. I think a big part of it is I think the Nasdaq and the ES are just very big, and so I think it is hard to try to scale on them because especially with Topstep, right? Only having 3K of drawdown is just not enough. I think if I was trading like a micro mini and trading like the MNQ, I would be able to scale over a much longer time frame, and that would work. Anyway, getting back on track, decided to go back to what I'm used to, trading with 3 contracts and just scalping really quick. Took a short at the start of the day. The short did not work, got stopped out for just a little bit there. Re-entered on the breakout short here. I'll probably zoom in on this a bit. Saw that the delta was also selling off at the same time, so took that short. Caught a nice big push downwards. Not a big push, but decent push. So that was profitable. My next trade, I gave back a little more. I gave back a little bit more over the next couple of trades. And then finally had a nice push down here. Exact same thing, just saw that the delta was finally showing sellers coming in. Took the short off of the resistance that had formed above. Closed it, just got stopped out profitably, just followed it for each bar until eventually I was stopped out. Took another couple of trades, just back and forth. Here on this big push up was very patient. Was very difficult for me to watch this go up without me. I did take a long here, and just no, it hits here. Sorry, I did take a long here and got stopped out of it a little bit early. I think the lesson, the biggest takeaway there is I'm moving my stops up very quickly, and maybe I should have moved them up a little less quickly, right? Like I moved this one up even before it was at $100 of profit, and got stopped out and made like $15 on it. And look at the size of the push. So I should have exercised a little bit more patience and maybe said, okay, I'm willing to take at least like $200 worth of risk to let this push. Would be interesting to see what would have happened if I had done that on every trade, because I did cut off my losers just as quickly as I cut off my winners today. But missed all this push, got in, got a little impatient, bought here, thought it was going to come against me, just left my stop where it was underneath the swing low. It came back. I got out quickly for profit there. Was glad I did that because it eventually sold off. I'm seeing the downtrend. I bought the VWAP bounce. Lost a little bit on this one. Profited on the second try. Wish I had taken this one here, because this is this is the one that you're actually looking for. This is what I'm talking about, the VWAP bounce, where it actually touches VWAP and just, rockets off of it. You put the stop right underneath the first bar. That was the bounce, and usually the profit to be made is a lot more than whatever the stop size was. That was the case here too, but this one wasn't as clean. This is like a perfect, very clean. Remember, I drew the boxes and said that the VWAP bounce is it's gonna bounce within a range. It's not necessarily gonna be VWAP exactly. This is close enough, and you can see it just rocketed off. So that would have been nice to be in. This would have been a huge profit, but oh well, we've missed it. And that's pretty much the end of the day. At least it's nice to see that the VWAP bounce was confirmed. So it's, I'm not crazy saying, oh, VWAP bounce, and it just never works. It does work. That's an example of it. I just wasn't trading it, unfortunately. But that's it for the day. Thanks for watching. I hope this is helpful. Don't trade like I trade. Trade better than me. And